right, got to get the Facebook groups on here. Hopefully they are working. Hope everyone's having a wonderful Friday evening or Saturday morning or whatever time and day that it happens to be. We got 1, 2, we're good to go. Welcome into another episode of the Dev Valley Deep Divers. I am your host, Erick Trickel, and joining me this week after a week away is the one and only Lance Sanderson. Lance, you were on vacation last week. How was your vacation, and are you ready to get back to talking about the Broncos?
Yeah, always ready to talk about the Broncos. Vacation was awesome. We went to go see some family and have some fun, get away from town for a little bit. It was good to be up in Washington and Spokane area, and went and did some really cool things. Went fishing for a little bit, had dinner on the Spokane River at a restaurant called Anthony's. It was absolutely fantastic, a little expensive, but overall the trip was really, really fun. It was good to get back. Little catching up to do with work and everything like that, trying to keep up with the Broncos and everything. But I'm doing good. I'm excited to be back here. OTAs obviously ongoing. How are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I've been better. I'm dealing with, for those of you who tuned in on Wednesday morning and didn't see me on the show, you were informed that I was dealing with a slight medical issue. Well, Tuesday night, I ended up going to the emergency room for a medical issue, but things are, on the right track with that anyways. So we're not gonna, on that note, we're not gonna go a full hour tonight, unless you guys force that of us. We're only gonna keep about half an hour. Not only is there the issues going on with me, but Lance is dealing with a cold as well, which you can possibly hear. So it's going to be a shorter show, which is fine. It's a dead point of the season, but we do have some OTAs to get into and talk about. And before we get into that, Lance, we do have a word from our sponsor.
Yeah, guys, summer is here at DraftKings Casino. New offers and promos are sprouting up daily. Right now, new players can play $5 on anything and get 350 casino spins instantly on a featured slot game. Download the app and sign up with the code MileHighPod. Take the featured slot for a spin and explore thousands of others in the DraftKings game library.
Yeah, that's right. Check back daily to claim the hottest offers and promos on DraftKings Casino, and don't forget our code MileHighPod. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus, physically present in Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only. Void in Connecticut and Ontario. Eligibility restrictions apply. New customers only. Non-withdrawable casino spins valid for featured game only and expire in 168 hours. See terms at casino.com. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/promos. Ends June 15th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. And thank you, DraftKings, for the sponsorship.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, before we get into the topic tonight, we're going to say hello to a couple people here in the chat. We have Ernie Mays coming in on YouTube saying, "Go Broncos Country only." Bo Nix 46, and we have Ernie Mays coming over on Facebook saying, "Hello, Eric and Lance, go Broncos Country only." Hello, Ernie. Hope you are having a wonderful night. We also have David Youngkin saying evening and adding in that you're hoping that I'm better. I hope you're doing better. I know that you've been having some issues as well. I'm doing fine. My visit to the ER was simply because it's something that they couldn't actually help me with, but outside of, prescribing me a couple things to help in the meantime until I can get taken care of by a specialist. But so wasn't that big of a deal. It was just late and I wasn't going to be able to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do the morning show on Wednesday. We have JD Splash saying, seems that all that's left is making it to the season without injuries. Yes, unfortunately, the Broncos haven't had a big thing there. From what I understand, they have had some guys who aren't practicing or doing OTAs because of injury, but it's OTAs, and so they're just being a little extra precautious. If it was game week, they'd be practicing and getting ready for the game for the most part. Michael Ronquillo saying, "Good evening, Eric, Lance on the Dove Valley Deep Divers, go Bo Broncos," and saying, "Awesome trip, Lance." And we have William Catalano saying, "I think we signed Dobbins." Well, he left the building without a deal, so we'll see. It was probably just a visit just to see where things are, and maybe revisit a signing later on down the road. And we have Phil McLaughlin coming in saying, "Good evening, Eric and Lance. Hope you feel better soon. Eric, and congrats on your anniversary. Any news on Dobbins? #Buckham." Well, 6 cents kicked in. Kind of got the news about Dobbins here, and definitely thank you. I'm already feeling better. And it's just got to wait to get a specialist, which isn't easy with where I live, to get the problem completely taken care of. But in the meantime, I was able to get what I needed from the ER to help. So
yeah,
on the right track.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate that. My wife and I had a wonderful time, a wonderful dinner, and a great night. It was awesome.
Yeah, and glad you were able to have a good anniversary there, Lance. My anniversary is actually coming up here in
I was
about
gonna say,
15 days.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we're going to be not really doing a whole lot, really. We're going to be going over to a friend of ours' daughter's birthday that's friends with Bug, but you're not here to listen to what we're doing for anniversary stuff. But anyways, we're not really doing anything special for our anniversary this year. Anyways, getting back to this, any news on Dobbins? As I kind of highlighted, he left without a deal, and it seemed like they were eyeballing him for his pass protection, Lance.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to pass this off to you, but there was a quote from Sean Payton that is worth mentioning when talking about pass protection. While I look for that, go ahead and give me your quick thoughts on J.K. Dobbins in that situation.
Well, first things first. I mean, I think adding another veteran to this room would be beneficial to this team, especially for the third down situation, pass blocking. He's a quality receiver out of the backfield. And while there is injury concerns for sure, he's a high quality football player, had almost 1,000 yards with the Chargers this last season. And the Broncos haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher in almost a decade. I think CJ Anderson's the last time they had a 1,000-yard rusher. So they haven't had a 100-yard rusher since I believe it's 2019, 2020, somewhere around in there with Latavius Murray. Like the running game has been bad for the Broncos for a while. Obviously, you go out and you get an RJ Harvey, but to me, J.K. Dobbins offers enough of a skill set to offer some more versatility to raise the floor of this room. I like the idea of bringing him in, and it's curious to see what it looks like. He has a curious free agent tender with the Chargers right now. They have the right of first refusal. So if he does sign with a deal with the Broncos, then the Chargers could potentially match that up to, I believe it's July 22nd. And on July 22nd, if he doesn't sign with another team, he has a contract with the Chargers that's, I believe, worth $3.4 million. So if for him, I wouldn't sign a deal with any franchise that's not at least that $3.5 million benchmark, because that's what you're pretty much guaranteed to go back to the Chargers and play behind Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris. So it's obviously a very fluid situation. It doesn't sound like any deal is imminent, but it also doesn't sound like that deal is completely dead in this situation. So to me, I think keep your ears on this situation, keep your ears to the ground, kind of monitor what's going on here, because it wouldn't surprise me to see J.K. Dobbins back in Denver this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's entirely possible, but I think it's very telling that he left without a deal.
Yeah.
And what I think the situation was, excuse me, so I had to clear my throat there, is a situation where they really wanted to kind of send a message to the running backs.
Mm-hmm.
They really like what they're seeing out of them. They wanted to send a message that they still need to step it up. And I think they're willing, and you and I, we had this kind of back and forth a few weeks ago about if they should sign a running back now or wait. It seems like they're willing to wait on it. Yeah. Until closer to training camp, until during training camp, and allowing these young guys that chance to grow and develop and everything. And the quote, I finally found it. It was about pass protection, specifically on working on pass protection with the running backs. And Sean Payton said, and I quote, it's not just one or two right now. Tyler Bidet is very good in that area. So early on, we're seeing all of them get the work. Then we'll worry about as we get closer. So that to me, with the timing of that, because he made that quote, I believe, yesterday. Mm-hmm. When they were getting ready for J.K. Dobbins' visit, and it's very well known that they're looking for a pass protecting back. And J.K. Dobbins, while he's not great in that area, he is better than what we know they currently have. Now, one of these guys can, again, step up for that. Mm-hmm. So that seems to be what they were looking at Dobbins for. And sending that message kind of seems to say is, we're going to wait. We're going to let these guys continue to grow and develop. We're going to wait on it and revisit later on. Mm-hmm. Had a good visit with him from what I understand, but it's just wait and see mode, because a lot of young guys. Audric Esme was one of the youngest players in the draft last year. He's still only 21 years old, going to be 22 at the beginning of the season. RJ Harvey is older, but he is inexperienced. Julian McLaughlin, he's got a good amount of experience, but he's still growing as a player. Tyler Bidet, he's seems to be showing that pass protection that they want. And from the last thing on the Dobbins stuff is Mike Kliss kind of had a comment on this, and it seemed like it wasn't J.K. Dobbins being brought in to be the 1A or 1B. Is that he was being brought in to be that pass protector specialist only.
Right. Yeah.
That it was still RJ Harvey, Audric Estime, and even Jaleel McLaughlin, and then a specific specialized role for J.K. Dobbins. At least when I read Mike Kliss's report and his tweets on it, that's just how it seemed. And then some conversations that I had kind of reiterated back to that. And Michael Ronquillo said, who would be the odd man out if the Broncos signed J.K. Dobbins? To me, the running back room is you have a clear 1, 2, 3. You have your explosive back in RJ Harvey. You have your short yardage power back in Audric Estime, and you have your slasher back in Jaleel McLaughlin.
Mm-hmm.
After that, Blake Watson, Tyler Bidet, those are the two running backs that are up in the air on with their status for the team.
Yep.
And with Dobbins or without, I don't think that changes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think that Tyler Bidet would be the one, like the leader in the clubhouse, if you were to say something about that as a player that the Broncos kept on the practice squad. Maybe they kept a second player there as well in Blake Watson. But to me, I'm right there with you. It's Estime, it's Harvey, it's McLaughlin. It would be J.K. Dobbins. And then if Dobbins isn't brought in, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Broncos keep Bidet on the 53-man roster to open the season and then move him down to the practice squad after week 1.
Yeah, and as we get into the topic of conversation here about OTAs with running backs, there's been a lot of positive word coming out about all of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of positive word coming out over the last couple of days about Q Robinson, of Savion Jones, of some of the offensive linemen. And Lance, we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about them because I've mentioned this before on other shows with Carl, with Nick. OTAs for linebackers, defensive linemen, offensive linemen, and running backs is the worst. There are certain things you can see out of them, but until you get the pads on, you're very limited on what you're able to see out of them. Now, the wide receivers with the route running, corners with the coverage, quarterback making the reads, and then, receiving stuff for running backs, and then coverage from linebackers. That stuff you can still see, and even, some edge coverage guys. But outside of that, it's not a lot. It's good that you're seeing the positive signs from Q Robinson, from Savion Jones, from, I think, Frank Crum was mentioned specifically.
Yep.
From what I heard, Luke Wattenberg seems to be looking a lot better this year. It's good you're seeing those signs, but we're going to focus on the positions you can see a lot more out of. And the first one here, and Michael Ronquillo says, Devon Vele is looking good to OTA and chasing to be the number 2 wide receiver behind Courtland Sutton. Expectation is for Vele to be that second receiver, with Marvin Mims as kind of that third. From what I understand, it was kind of a rough start to OTAs for him, but he really came on strong over the last couple days, over this last set of OTA days, and taking that step, looking a lot better than he was to end last year, and even just a little over a week ago in the first set of OTAs, which is very promising when you are expecting him again to be that number 2 wide receiver. Before I pass this off to you, though, Papa Bear coming in with a $2 donation saying #13-4. I'm right there with you, Papa Bear. That's my expectation or my record projection for the Broncos this year. We'll see if it changes. Obviously, as we get down closer to it and we see preseason ball, things can change, but that's where I'm at right now. But Lance, going back to Devon Vele, what are your thoughts on him?
Well, couple things here. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer or anything like that. My point that I'm trying to make here, first and foremost, is there's not a lot that you're going to take away from OTAs. One, being on the outside looking in. Obviously, we cover the team. We do as much as we can, diving into everything. But the media has been so shut out of OTAs over the last couple of seasons with Sean Payton. It's so hard to really glean anything from what these players are looking like in OTAs. Eric, you kind of hit on it, specifically receivers, cornerback drills, the quarterbacks throwing the football, running backs out of the backfield. You're seeing a lot of that. But because it's an OTA practice, they're not showing, obviously, a whole lot of team drills and stuff like that. And the media is only there for 1 day a week. So it's not like training camp. So it's hard to really get a lot of takeaways. But to Devon Vele specifically, listening to Ryan Edwards, Benjamin Albright, KOA, another handful of other different media members that were in attendance at these practices, Devon Vele, one, looks like he's thickened out his frame. He looks more muscular, and he looks very smooth as a route runner. And to me, excuse me, pardon me, guys, with Vele looking to be that number 2 receiver, he showed well enough last season as a rookie. I'm very curious to see what he looks like when the pads come on, and to see what development he's done as a route runner. He was always consistent, showed the consistency in his hands catching the football. The route running looks to be better in the clips that I was able to find. He looks bigger. He looks way more consistent, way more confident. And you can see that there is a rapport between him and Bo and him and Jarrett Stidham. When they find him, he catches the ball, turns it, gets it upfield. Obviously, no contact, but he looks a lot better even year over year in his second year. The other thing here, RJ Harvey out of the backfield, from all reports as a receiver, has been electric out there. I know there's the one clip that's been going around. I believe it was DNVR that shared it. But they had RJ Harvey running a wheel route, so that you go out to the flat, back out to the sideline on a deep shot. Bo Nix hit him in stride. Would have been a touchdown in a game situation. Uncovered, but still, just to get that work, just to get that team building mentality, getting the timing down, starting to work on just the basic install as your offense. That's what you're doing in OTAs. And from what we're seeing, from what we're hearing, this team has some talent. There's a lot of potential here. 13-4, maybe a little stretch for me. I think 11-6, 12-5 is probably the right area here. But I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to August, to where we get some more access to more information and more videos, so I can put my eyes on it and not rely on people like spreading word of mouth and stuff like that. So color me reserved a little bit, but also incredibly optimistic for this season.
Now, on the Devon Vele talk, there has to be one player on the Broncos who's not happy with how he's looking, right? You know who I'm talking about, right? There has to be one guy. It has to be Courtland Sutton.
Yeah.
And it's in a situation where obviously Courtland Sutton's happy that this young player that he's been playing with, been teammates with for just over a year now, is stepping up and improving. But for the Broncos, that's got to put some, kind of throws a wrench in it when it comes to contract extensions. If Devon Vele is looking this good and you drafted Pat Bryant, well, what do you do with Courtland Sutton now, who's looking for another big contract, said to be looking for 18 to 22 on a million average million per year on an average per year basis. And so you got to be kind of like, it's kind of got to be a little bit bittersweet, right, for Courtland Sutton, that Devon Vele is looking good, because he's happy for Devon Vele, but kind of worried about his own contract status. What do you think?
I think that the bigger indictment with Courtland Sutton is the fact that Pat Bryant has come out looking very strong in terms of route running and the consistency with his hands, and the fact that they spent a 3rd round draft pick on him. They've got Vele, who showed out well as a rookie last season, but Bryant being that other potential guy as a number 2 receiver, you've got 2 big body guys. Courtland Sutton I've mentioned this multiple different times, guys. This could be the last year of Courtland Sutton. He might be even a trade piece for the Broncos this season to get more draft capital moving forward down the line, ease up some salary cap concerns that you have. Not that there's concerns after the Russell Wilson contract is gone, but at the same time, if you're not having to spend $20 to $22 million, $25 million on a guy like Courtland Sutton, because you have 2 young guys with similar skill sets on rookie deals, you can make Courtland Sutton pretty well expendable. Not that that's the right word, but you could move on from Courtland Sutton and not see the pain of moving on from a team leader, one of your best players that you've had over the last 5 seasons. To me, it's not Devon Vele's progress. It's how good Pat Bryant has showed in the OTA practices, because I'm hearing a lot of high praise for him as a route runner right now. Like, seriously, he looks smooth. He looks big. He looks confident. He's got that rapport. Like, he's going to be a player. I'm excited about Pat Bryant, like, big time this year. And honestly, if he does show out and shows well in training camp, when the helmets start flying and you get some live bullets going in some preseason games, Courtland Sutton around the trade deadline could be a hot commodity for the Broncos to wave around as a trade piece.
Yeah, and it's definitely would be a weird situation. His contract voids.
Yep.
And so it forces a thing of either a team comes up with a new deal with him, or I believe it's $7 million against the salary cap and dead cap money.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If his contract voids. So that's not insignificant. That is a number where if you trade for him, or even in the Broncos case, you want to get something worked out with, even if it's just a 1-year extension, just so you can lower that down. But he wants more money to it. So it's a very weird salary cap situation. And it goes back to, is like, it's tough because hindsight's 2020, but I still stand by the fact that the Broncos made the mistake of not moving on from him before last season. As great as he was, don't get me wrong, he was great for the Broncos this last season, but they've now put themselves in a bind with the contract restructure that they did last year.
Yep.
And now it's basically a situation of they have to extend him.
Well,
because I'm not sure another team is going to want to trade him and have to give and pay him.
mhm.
Because I'm not sure what the Broncos are going to be asking for. Another team will be willing to give him, on top of giving him 18 to 22, 23 million on an average per year basis.
Yep.
So it's kind of tough there, but Pat Bryant, Devon Bailey, even with them showing out at this point, Denver is best a 1 or 2 year extension with Courtland Sutton and moving on from there, and watching the void years on it, because void years, they're a double-edged sword. They help lower the cap right away, but you get to a situation where the Broncos, if they don't extend Zach Allen, if they don't extend Courtland Sutton, they can have almost $20 million in dead cap space with those two contracts voiding at the end after the season. Which Zach Allen, it's like almost 13 million. That forces you to have to get a contract done, and then a little over 7 million for Courtland Sutton kind of forces you to get a contract extension done. Now, flipping over to the defensive side of the ball, defense kind of gets the short hand of the stick when it comes to OTAs. The offense is the shining light. They do everything great, unless the defense is absolutely balling out there. And we've heard some positive things about Savion Jones and Q Robinson again. But as we've said, it's OTAs, limited contact. It's designed for defensive front players to look good. So are you at all concerned that you haven't heard much about Jade Baron? Or are you concerned that Jade Baron has yet to sign his contract and being one of the handful of first-round picks to have not signed his contract? And I believe the only one after like pick 17 to not have signed his contract. Any concerns there with any of that?
No, not necessarily, because Sean Payton talked about Jade Baron and how he's really picking things up quickly. He's learning the defensive playbook. They're playing him inside, outside on both sides of the football. Sean Payton gave him a ringing endorsement saying that he had a high workload at Texas, playing on both sides of the ball and on the inside. So to me, it just get him up to speed, keep him healthy, and let him do his thing. And again, he's a first-round pick. Most of those contracts are fully guaranteed anyways. It's mostly a matter of like structure for the most part, and a lot of offset languages, and that's more tricky for like second round contracts than it is for first round contracts. That's an afterthought to me. That deal's going to get done. I'm not worried about that at all. I think the bigger thing here is Hufanga, Broncos fan for life, jumping in here. Talanoa Hufanga in one of the team sections had his first interception of training camp off of Bo Nix. So to see him flying around, that was a big highlight. And going back to Jade Baron here, Baron has gotten praise not only from Sean Payton, but I think Pat Surtain also said he's smart, he's versatile, you can do anything you want with him. He's showing out very nicely, he's picking up everything quickly. So while you're not getting the highlight plays out of him and you're not seeing anything on Twitter videos and stuff like that, the fact that you've got people behind the scenes that are coming out unprompted saying, Jade Baron is really showing out. He's going to be a player for us. Sounds like he's going to be your starter on the outside, slide inside to the nickel when they go with 5 defensive backs. Riley Moss is going to come in and be the outside cornerback opposite of Pat Surtain. So no, I have zero concerns about Jade Baron, whether it's the contract, what his fit is with the defense. Everything about that pick still makes 100% perfect sense to me. And you still have some safety versatility with the player if you want him as well. So, no, I have no concerns about Jade Baron at all at this point. It's still so early in the summer. If we get closer to training camp, that deal's not done, then maybe I'll get a little bit concerned. But for the most part, that deal will get done here. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Just go with the flow and enjoy the fact that the Broncos have a lockdown cornerback that's capable of playing on the inside and on the outside, opposite of Pat Surtain, to make this defense even more versatile and more dangerous taking the football away. Erick, you're muted.
The contract stuff, it'll get taken care of when it gets taken care of. It's just one of those things, for some reason, it's taking a little extra time. There might be some language stuff in there that they're having back and forth. Because the money and the breakdown of the money, that's pretty much determined, right? When you have pick 19 and pick 21, both having signed their contracts, that's your baseline for what Jade Baron's going to get.
Yeah.
He's one of like 5 or 6 players who haven't signed their first round contract yet. There are only 2 players after, 18 to 29. Jade Baron's the only one who hasn't. Pick 30, 31, they haven't signed their contract yet. But you have enough there and around him that you know what it's going to be. So there's something that's just being a slight holdup on, but it'll get taken care of. there's not much wiggle room for rookies to negotiate their contracts because of the rookie wage scale. It's not a big deal. I've seen some concerns over the past few weeks, both on Twitter and in chat. So I'm not concerned about it. And the same thing with his performance in OTAs. It's OTAs. He's picking up the playbook. I'm not expecting him to make splash play after splash play after splash play.
Yep.
Like, just not. And then when you do hear highlights or mentions of highlights and highlight plays and all that, it's almost always in favor of the offense. But he's coming around. We'll wait until August and when pads come on and, see what he does. And seems like he's kind of playing a unofficial star role in the Broncos secondary, which was the expectation here. And I'm glad you mentioned Talanoa Hufanga because he seems to have really stepped up and taken a leadership role on the defense. And I've ranted about Pro Football Focus's player rankings here for a while, for the last couple of weeks, Lance, and I'm not going to really get into it, but I am curious. Talanoa Hufanga amongst the safeties ranked, I believe, 22nd or 23rd.
Okay.
I'm just curious what you think about him ranking in the top 32 safeties with Hufanga ranking in that range. Brandon Jones was number 9, just to add that in.
That's interesting that Brandon Jones is that high. Honestly, I think that's probably the more proper takeaway is that Brandon Jones is listed as the number 9 safety in the NFL right now. I think Hufanga at 22 is fine because he's so limited, not necessarily athletically, just with his ability in terms of coverage. You want him closer to the line of scrimmage, flying around and being kind of a box safety more than you want him playing on the deep half. And Jones is kind of that same kind of a player. Like Jones has the ability to play in the deep half if you need him to. Hufanga is not that kind of a player. So to have him as 22 in the NFL, that would be the last technically starting safety of the in the NFL. That might be a little bit low because of his playmaking ability, his ability as a ball hawker just to go and make plays, those big splash plays. But at the same time, given the limitations of what he brings to you in terms of his athletic skill set and coverage ability, I think that I don't call it properly ranked, but not also an egregious oversight here.
I'm going to need you to explain something to me because I don't know if I misheard you or what, but the math ain't mathin'.
What do you mean?
You said 22 puts him at the bottom of the start of the safeties in the NFL.
My bad.
There's 64 starting safeties.
Yeah. Holy cow. It's been a long day. 22. I was thinking 2 teams and apparently 11 players was the math that went through my head there. So okay. My bad. I just wanted clarification on that. It is definitely a 22 is about right though. Like quite honestly, middle of the road safety. I get it.
It's not necessarily. It's for me. I think 22, 23. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head what it is. I think next week or the week after we're going to really dig into the PFF rankings here, and go over them position by position. But for me, with Hufanga, there, it's fair because of the amount of time he's missed over the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's also
when you're 20. When you have to go back to 2022 for the great season for him, it is hard to justify a high ranking for it. And Brandon Jones at 9, I think, is totally fair as well.
Elaborate on that just quickly. And I got one more thing I want to get to before we get out of here.
Oh, I was going to switch it over to taking questions from chat, but real quick, Brandon Jones coming off a great year. I'm intrigued by what he can do. And last year he was one of the best safeties in the NFL this year. And you're expecting him to build off of that in the same scheme and added talent around him. And even though it's a slightly different role, last year he did do well when he was working in the single high coverage units. He just didn't do it often. There is a concern though, because when in Miami, when he did play that single high coverage role more often, he struggled in it. So is less is more kind of thing with it. Is he going to struggle with more reps? That's a concern there. But when you look at the starting safeties in there are some really good ones. There are some great ones. And I think Brandon Jones is amongst the really good ones.
Yeah.
So I think there's 9. And then there's some that are after it. And Michael Rico is saying PFF rankings are a joke. And next week, the week after, whenever we get into it, you'll hear my full thoughts about all of them. Glenn Ashley coming in saying, Eric, are the rules around signing bonuses with rookies and therefore reducing what we pay year on year? I'm not entirely sure. I just know that the rookie wages are all set and predetermined, and that teams' wiggle room is a little bit of how it's structured with it. Shiloh coming in. with the picture of his gorgeous puppy saying Goon Squad has arrived. Hello, everyone. Hello, Shiloh. Glad you can join us. I also want to say glad you can join us too, Glenn, as I know that you haven't been able to join for a while. Richie coming in saying, I agree. And with Jones paired with a guy who might be better, he should look better. Yeah, that was kind of the issue that they seemed to have last year with Locke and Jones is Locke wasn't great playing downhill. Jones was better, but Locke wasn't great playing single high, and Jones was better. And so there's a lot of covering up for PJ Locke, who's a fine depth safety, but I think last year really proved that he's not a starter. So adding Talanoa Hufanga, who can really take that downhill, box linebacker type role at times, but also add when you're playing double high and can even at times play single high if you really want to throw a different look at the opposing quarterbacks. Not something that you're going to do, 5 to 10 times a game, but 1 to 5 times, all right, or 6 to 10, and then 1 to 5. Just a handful of times. I think that'll work out. But Lance, you had one more thing to add before we get out of here. Unfortunately, guys, we do need to call early. As I said earlier, I'm still dealing with some medical issues, and it's starting to kick up right now, and I can feel it, and it's not really a great feeling. And Lance is dealing with a cold. So, Lance, what's your final thing before we get out of here?
So, having being labeled a Bo Nix hater for the last, this is a joke. Having being labeled a Bo Nix hater over the last handful of weeks, and you guys didn't get a chance to see all the positive things that I said privately in our group chat and stuff like that.
He hasn't said any.
Don't you? Oh my goodness, dude. We're gonna get into I almost cussed just now. Anyways, to see the several players come out, whether it was Evan Ingram in his comments the other day saying, Bo Nix and the way he approaches the game was a big draw for him. Dre Greenlaw said another thing about that. You had Mike McGlinchey coming out and saying, this is Bo Nix's team. Everybody knows it. He's the one that's coming in. He's doing all the work. He's prepared every single day. He's leading everything. Every drill is being led through Bo Nix. The fact that you saw that linear growth throughout last season, and then to see him come back in with this OTAs period and to see and hear how many different players, whether it was Garrett Bowles, Mike McGlinchey, Courtland Sutton had something to say, Surtain had something to say, Sean Payton had something to say, which Sean Payton always has something nice to say about Bo Nix. But regardless, the fact that you are seeing all these veteran players come out and say, this guy is taking everything, he's taking control of it. I am so incredibly optimistic about Bo Nix. Hearing those things is like the shot in the arm, the breath of fresh air that we haven't had in Broncos country since Peyton Manning retired. Like, you have your guy, Broncos country. He probably is the franchise quarterback. Well, I'm still cautiously optimistic. I want to see it and actually see it. To hear what is being said by all these players, dude. Eric, I don't know what you think. Dude, like just to hear that is like, man, that's something we haven't heard for 10 years in Broncos country, and I'm over the moon excited about it. I cannot wait for August.
I think it's a little, suspicious that you're protesting being a hater as much as you are. It makes me suspicious that you're trying to hide things. Like Richard Rich says, Lance doth protest too much.
Well, come on, guys. Like, I've always been the guy that's like, all right, let me see it first. Let's roll back some expectations here a little bit. Let's see what's going to happen here. Obviously, CJ Stroud last season, after having a killer rookie season, took a big step back. The offensive line in Houston was terrible, and he had some issues there. There's still that possibility. It's still a question.
And the play caller and the wide receivers.
So let's go like this. Josh Allen still has a question of it. Can he actually win the big game? He's the number 3 quarterback in the NFL right now. He's not number 3. He's probably at least 2. He's a top 5 player, if nothing else. There's still that question. Can he win the big game? Can he beat Mahomes or Joe Burrow when it matters the most in the playoffs? He's not been able to do that. He's still a top 5 freaking quarterback in the league, guys. Like, you got to understand, I'm not trying to throw shade here. I'm just saying, hey, there's still a question here. Let me see it actually happen. Is that unfair to say about Josh Allen that he hasn't won a big game? He hasn't done it yet. Bo Nix has had a good rookie season. Yes, I am getting defensive, Glenn. I am. I'm tired of being called a hater for being realistic about this whole thing. Damn it. Leave me alone.
It's all jokes. It's all in
I
good
know.
fun.
I'm playing into the bit.
But I know your true colors. I have that. I have the receipts. I know you're a hater. Anyways. Anyways, no, obviously it is just a joke. Lance is actually, even though I'm more optimistic about the team outlook, Lance is more optimistic about Bo Nix's outlook than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't think Bo Nix is going to take a step forward. I've said plenty about how I think he's going to avoid the sophomore slump, and part of that is because of Sean Payton. And I do like how he has really taken control of his team. And I think it was Zach Allen on Chris Long's podcast came out and said how last year, Bo Nix as a rookie was coming in and immediately calling out veterans, and that's always a good sign. There were a lot of concerns about Bo Nix's game tape, not about him as the football player, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So it's great to see that that's materializing and helping translate to stuff on the field. And yeah, it's always fun just to get Lance a little stirred up and everything, especially before we get out of here. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for us. I'm starting to feel quite a bit of pain. So I'm going to go take something for that and eat, because I'm actually really hungry as well. Part of that is antibiotics, which don't sit well. Amoxicillin, guys, for whatever reason, makes me feel hungry all the time and does other stuff with my system that's not fun at all. But that's going to do it for us. We thank you all for joining in. We want to give special shout outs to David, to Papa Bear, to Michael Ronquillo, to Glenn Ashley, to Phil McLaughlin, to Richie Rich, to everybody who came in and chatted and joined the conversation. It was kind of a slow night, but we appreciate you guys, and we appreciate you, those of you who came in with stars or super chats, just a little bit more. No, we love and appreciate you all. But before we get out of here, some final words here. As always, as you can see scrolling across the bottom, you guys, easiest way to help us is subscribe, liking, and sharing. It doesn't matter what platform you're on, whether you're watching on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter, or X, whatever it is you want to call it, or listening on Apple or Spotify, whatever you happen to be listening to us on, subscribing, liking, and sharing. It helps us with the algorithm, which is something we're always constantly fighting, and always seems that we're fighting a losing battle against. And speaking of, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, you can leave a 5-star review for a chance to win some gear, not swag. I hate saying swag each month. You guys can also follow us on Instagram at Mile High Huddle with the underscore between Mile and High and Huddle. You can also, if you're able to financially do so, which I know times are financially tough for a lot of people across the world and the country right now, you can go to mhhmerch.com and get your gear on, not swag. Again, I hate the word swag. I wonder if I edited it, if Chad would notice. But you guys can go get some awesome hats like the ones that we have on the Broncos for Breakfast, which I need to get around to getting myself a hat for that. Shirts, mugs, all sorts of stuff on the MHH merch store. You guys can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/MileHighHuddlePod, facebook.com/MileHighHuddle. And there is another one as well that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head, where you guys can interact with the awesome community that we've built up over on Facebook and have access to all of our written content and all the shows through that as well, just in case for some reason we can't air on YouTube for whatever reason, although it's more often we can't air on Facebook than we can on YouTube. On Twitter, X, whatever it is you want to call it, at Mile Huddle, at DVDD_pod, at the MHH pod, and Lance and I at Erick Trickel for myself, and at Lance S_MHH. This is one of the many Mile High Huddle podcasts that come to you every single night of the week in 2 mornings. I will be back on Monday morning, providing everything is going fine with my health and I'm able to get some sleep. That's the big thing for me, with having to get up so early, because I don't get back to sleep. But guys, I want to say again, thank you guys for tuning in so much. But before we get out of here, Lance, any final words?
No, just I'm tired of you dropping bombs. The grenades work. They get me fired up all the damn time, and I'm tired of it. No, guys, love and appreciate all of you, and thank you for sticking with us. I know that we had a kind of a short show tonight, but we appreciate every single one of you guys coming in. We had 95 eyes right now, over 115 there for a little bit. Thank you all. You guys don't understand how much it means to us for you guys to be here every Friday night at 7:00. It's awesome that you guys continue to show us the love and support that you do. And without you guys, we couldn't do what we do best, which is cover your guys' Denver Broncos, our Denver Broncos. So with that, I'm just going to log out of here and say you all stay safe and take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. And as always, go Broncos.
Yeah, guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Hope you guys have a wonderful Friday night. I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of the night with my wife, as the kid is at my parents' house, which is always nice to get that little bit of a break and just have some time one-on-one with your significant other. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Hope you guys stay safe. I will see you on Monday. Don't drink and drive. And as Nick always says, make sure you choose kindness and compassion. And of course, go Broncos.